What happened when my husband was outside? I could feel the question burning inside me, twisting my stomach into knots as I stood by the window, staring at the empty driveway. The air felt heavy with something unspoken, something dangerous. I never imagined how much one night could change everything. It all started with a simple plan. My husband, Michael, was going to a late business dinner, and I was left alone at home. It was supposed to be uneventful, a quiet night of binge-watching my favorite show and sipping on wine. But as the minutes ticked by, I felt an unease settle over me, a restlessness I couldn't shake. Little did I know that night would unravel the threads of my carefully constructed life. The first strange thing happened when I received a text message from an unknown number. "He's not where he says he is." That was all it said. My heart raced as I stared at the screen. Who would send me something like that? Was it a prank, or was it something more sinister? I tried to dismiss it, but the words clung to me like a shadow. I texted Michael, casually asking how the dinner was going. He replied almost instantly, "All good, running late, don't wait up." His response seemed normal, but something about it felt off. I couldn't explain it. But my intuition told me there was more to the story. Curiosity got the better of me, and I did something I never thought I'd do. I called the restaurant where the dinner was supposed to be held. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the hostess said, "but there's no reservation under that name tonight." My blood ran cold. Why would Michael lie to me? And if he wasn't at the dinner, where was he? I paced the living room, my mind racing with possibilities. Was he having an affair? Was he in some kind of trouble? Every scenario seemed worse than the last. The text message from the unknown number replayed in my mind, each word a dagger of doubt. I decided to call my best friend Rachel. She'd always been my voice of reason, the one person I could trust to give me honest advice. "Maybe he's planning a surprise for you," she suggested. "Don't jump to conclusions." Her words were meant to reassure me, but they did little to calm my nerves. As the night dragged on, I couldn't sit still. I grabbed my coat and decided to go for a drive, hoping the fresh air would clear my mind. But as I backed out of the driveway, I noticed something unusual. A black car was parked down the street, its headlights off but engine running. It had been there for hours. And now my paranoia was in overdrive. I drove aimlessly, trying to piece together the puzzle. My thoughts were a chaotic mess of suspicion and fear. Eventually, I found myself parked outside a bar we used to go to when we first started dating. It was a place filled with memories, both happy and bittersweet. I wondered if Michael ever thought about those times, if he missed the simplicity of our early days together. As I sat there, lost in thought, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "You deserve to know the truth." My hands trembled as I read it. Who was this person? And why were they so intent on unsettling me? Before I could respond, a shadow fell across my car. I looked up to see a man standing there, his face partially obscured by the dim streetlight. He gestured for me to roll down my window. Against my better judgment, I complied. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle but filled with concern. "You've been sitting here a while." I nodded, unsure of what to say. There was something familiar about him, but I couldn't place it. "Just thinking," I finally replied. He hesitated before speaking again. "Sometimes thinking can lead you to places you don't want to go." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. "Be careful," he added before walking away. I watched him disappear into the night, my mind racing with questions. Who was he? And why did his words feel like a warning? By the time I got home, it was well past midnight. The black car was still parked down the street, its presence a constant reminder that something wasn't right. I decided to confront Michael as soon as he walked through the door. But hours passed, and he never came home. The next morning, I woke to find his side of the bed untouched. Panic set in as I checked my phone for messages or missed calls. Nothing. It was as if he'd vanished. Desperate for answers, I called his office. Michael didn't come in today, his assistant informed me. He said he was taking the day off. The walls felt like they were closing in. Where was he? And why was he lying to everyone? The unknown number texted me again. "You'll find him where it all began." My heart pounded as I reread the message. Where it all began? The bar. I grabbed my keys and drove back there, my mind racing with possibilities. When I arrived, the place was eerily quiet, the kind of stillness that makes your skin crawl. I pushed open the door and stepped inside. At first, I didn't see him. But then, in the far corner, I spotted Michael sitting alone, his head in his hands. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. As I approached, I noticed the empty glass in front of him and the defeated look in his eyes. "Michael," I said softly, sliding into the seat across from him. "What's going on?" He looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and regret. "I've made a mess of everything," he admitted. "I didn't know how to tell you." "Tell me what?" I pressed, my voice trembling. He hesitated before speaking, as if the words were too heavy to say out loud. "I lost my job months ago. I've been pretending to go to work every day, hoping I could fix it before you found out. But it's all fallen apart." His confession hit me like a ton of bricks. All this time, I'd been jumping to conclusions, imagining the worst. And while his deception hurt, it was born out of fear and shame, not betrayal. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I didn't want you to see me as a failure," he said. "I thought I could handle it on my own." But I was wrong. In that moment, all the anger and suspicion melted away. I reached across the table and took his hand in mine. "We're a team, Michael. Whatever we face it together. You don't have to go through this alone." Tears filled his eyes as he nodded, a glimmer of hope returning to his expression. It wouldn't be easy to rebuild the trust and stability we'd lost. But for the first time in a long time, we were on the same page, and that was a start. As we left the bar hand in hand, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the unknown number that had sent me on this journey. Sometimes the truth is the only thing that can set you free.